So hi, this is Dean with the Conflict Podcast. I'm at Stagshead Tattoo in Kidderminster with an old school friend of mine, Pidge, his real name, Thomas Gabriel. We're going to talk about how Pidge got into tattooing, how me and him met, and the history of because Pidge has been tattooing over 10, 15 years now, easily. And there's a lot of people, who haven't been tattooing that long. 18 years, sorry. And, and I've known Pidge for 20 of that, do you know what I mean? So, he was tattooing since he was in school, really. We're going to talk about that right now. So anyway, welcome to the podcast, Pidge.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So, first of all, let's talk about how me and Pidge met each other. So, my fondest memory is us in the art room. That's literally how we properly met, really, wasn't it?
It was outside, wasn't it? It wasn't even in the art room, because you were above me at school. It was that fucking little corridor where everyone used to just toss off.
Play Beyblade.
Where the Grebo kids used to hide away and get their heads kicked in.
So basically, me and Pidge are still basically Grebos. You're just growing up now. But yeah, we used to play Beyblade outside of the art block. And then we'd chill in the art block drawing. So, Pidge and me, myself, we've both been drawing since school. And, but Pidge just never stopped.
You were drawing, I was just stealing stuff.
Nah, he was stealing stuff as well. So yeah, so that's how we know each other. But the one thing that really stuck in my head, and I was like, Jesus Christ, is one day Pidge just lifted his leg up, his trouser leg, and he had massive down the side of his leg. Pidge just tattooed on his leg. And how old was you then?
12 at that
12. So that's when you had your first tattoo. So let's talk about your first experience of getting into tattoos and what led you down that path.
I had that one tattooed when I was 12, and that was done in my dad's cousin's living room with my legs strapped to a chair with no health and safety, no cross-contamination, none of that crap. It was literally no gloves, belt, strapped me to the table. The guy was drilling it in. I won't mention any names. It was about as illegal as it can get. It was just horrendous. And from that day, really, I've just been obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But it never stopped. And then I had that one. And then I remember going to another shifty guy, getting absolutely slaughtered by him on my other leg. And then that was awful. That got all infected. And then I had another one. And I remember my dad saying to me when I was 13, he's like, look, you've got 8 now, you need to pack it in, wait till you get a bit older. But it was game over at that point. I was always going to get loads.
Yeah. But, and you were also influenced by, because your dad had a lot of tattoos as well.
Yeah.
Your dad also tattooed, but he obviously wasn't as talented as you are now. But the thing is, but this is also talk, you can talk about how different things have gone from machines, inks, needles, from all that time ago now. Your dad was probably what people call scratching now.
Not even scratching, mate. Back then was pre-scratching. It was literally, so you've got scratchers nowadays that will use stuff off eBay, cheap equipment. You've got to think back then that didn't even exist. So there was no such thing as scratchers, because you had to know someone that knew someone that was a tattooist just to get that tiny little bit of information off them. Pre-80s, you either knew someone was a tattooist and they'd give you the equipment, or you had to know how to make it yourself, which is the old rotary style, which obviously people still use nowadays in jail, like that one I showed you upstairs.
Yeah.
But the first original coil machines, they were handed down from tattooist to tattooist, and they'd make them out of antique door knockers. Because back in the day, you'd have an electromagnetic door knocker, it'd pull a current through it and it'd make an arm go back and forth, and then the arm would hit a bell. So what they used to do is they'd rip them off the wall from these old buildings, buy them from antique shops and stuff, and then they realised that you could rig up that to some sort of metal tube, and then if you ran a needle down through it, and then you run a 12-volt current through it, it forwards the needle back and forth, and that's essentially where the first tattoo machines come from. But yeah, my dad was using all that sort of real old stuff.
Like antique.
Yeah, pretty much. The sort of stuff that gives you tetanus from... You get tetanus from touching it, not from the actual tattoo.
Yeah. Let's talk about your family as well, because your cousin was also...
All my family.
All your family, yeah. But your cousin, he was... Because I remember you saying that he was a fine art portrait artist, wasn't he?
Yeah, Worcester Cricket Club in the 80s, but he stopped doing that because there was no money in it once digital cameras come out. No posh old lady's going to pay you 300 quid to paint a picture of her and her husband that she can snap on a digital camera and have processed within 2 hours for free.
So where did he go from there after that?
Started tattooing. Again, that was just scratching from home. At this point, it was tattoo equipment was readily available, so you never had to really be in the know.
But that was another version of you going down that path before you even realised it yourself.
Oh, of course, because my cousin was a lot closer to my age range. Obviously, my dad, he got into tattooing through a lot of criminal aspect and stuff. Spent a lot of time in jail. So it's sort of led him down that path. Like, he used to hang around with a lot of bikers and stuff, and back in the day, the best biker, the one that drew the best, you were the tattooist for the gang, so it was sort of, you know, that's how you get into that. But my cousin, obviously, he tried to make it a bit more la-di-da because he was a fine line pencils artist. So he didn't want to do the traditional bulldogs, crosses, anchors, that sort of stuff. He wanted to do actual tattoos, like portraits and stuff.
Art,
yeah, artwork, because obviously
so
he's done that his
symbols.
whole life. Yeah, so to him, he basically, I said to you before, the term starving artist is a very true term.
Oh, 100%,
he wanted to bring his artistic ability into tattooing, but you've got to imagine, this is like late 90s, there was nothing, tattooing didn't really have that then, so he struggled trying to convince people, no, you haven't got to just have this dolphin on your belly that you've picked off a wall. I can do this real dolphin, like really realistic, let me do this.
Is that when, like,
whereas now it's the other way.
Better needle side coming into it, and like better inks and stuff like that?
No, like, I was arguing this with someone the other day. I could do you a perfectly good tattoo with that tattoo machine that I showed you earlier that I've made upstairs.
Yeah,
a rubber, a motor, and a guitar string, and a biro.
Hold on 2 seconds. Before we carry on, when Pidge keeps referring to this machine that he built, talk about the mechanics that go behind, you know, just not just the coil but the rotary, because like you said, you built, I mean, he doesn't actually use it for sanitary reasons.
He used it on me.
He used it on himself, but he doesn't use it on anyone else. Like, no clients he doesn't use it on. But
they're a one pop thing, basically. Old coil machines, like I just said, they were made out of door knockers, and now they're made out of 2 magnetic coils. So that's one thing. But in jail, or if you're doing things on the cheap, or third world countries use them a lot, you can make a tattoo machine. I'm not encouraging this in any way. Let's just
not do this.
Yeah, do not do this, and I'm not encouraging people to do it.
And don't go buy stuff off eBay either.
Yeah, don't do that either. But you can make a tattoo machine out of anything. Like, I made one out of a rubber, which is where your finger sits so that you don't get calluses. A Bic biro, which you use as a tube. A guitar string, which you cut the end off, which you feed through the biro, sorry. And then you attach that into, you get a little motor, any 12 volt, sorry, you can get it out of anything. Old video players, old Walkmans, toothbrush is a good one if you're inside, because you can easily build it down and then hide all the stuff. Yeah. Then you put the cam, you get a button, heat it up, melt the button onto the cam, heat the guitar string, push it into the button, and obviously as the plastic, as it hardens when it gets cold, it acts as a full-on tattoo machine. And then what you do is you'll use your, say, obviously in jail, this is a prime example, everyone has to have a shave, so you've got electric razors and stuff, and they're 2-wire 12 volt chargers. So what you do is you'll cut the negative and positive, and you attach that to the motor with electrical tape. As soon as you turn it on at the switch on the wall, bang, you've got a tattoo machine. Just
so everyone knows, Pidge has never been to prison. We're just talking about, because I find it fascinating now.
My dad spent a lot of time in prison, that's how I know all this stuff.
Yeah, but we're talking about your knowledge of the understanding of the actual machinery, because we're talking about this, a lot of new tattooers, because there's a lot of really good tattooers who've been tattooing less than 10 years.
Most of them.
Yeah,
you won't find any seasons.
They don't understand the mechanics behind the machines. And when you and me sat down together and you were explaining what's the difference between a rotary and a coil, this is you explaining the in-depth understanding of those machinery.
What really grips me is you'll hear these arseholes who will say, loyal to the coil, that's the original, blah, blah, blah. No, wrong. If you go and look at the patents for tattoo machines, rotary tattoo machines were around long before that. Long before that. But they never caught on. Because back in the day, it was no one wanted to experiment with anything, because tattooing was so underground. You stuck with what you knew because you knew that worked. Whereas obviously now, it's such a big industry that everyone will experiment with everything. Everyone will try new things. So yeah, that's my opinion on that one.
So where are we going with this? So you're back to your cousin. You're watching him, tattoo, and obviously he's getting you into it more and more. And then he started working at a tattoo shop in...
Mate, we used to go around people's houses. We did that for years, man. I'd sit and draw pictures for him.
What year are we talking? This is like early 2000s.
I would have been 12, so we're talking 2003.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. That's when I started working with him, when I was 12. And he'd only been tattooing a couple of years by then, and we'd literally... I remember packing up all the stuff in his old Audi, and we'd go around people's houses. I'd sit and draw the designs for him, make stencils, set all his machines and stuff up. God, man, the machines that he used to use are absolutely terrible. You couldn't pay me to tattoo you with them now.
Yeah, but the thing is, machinery's improved, and it's also a lot easier to get hold.
It was just cheap.
Yeah.
Back then, no one cared. There wasn't. You couldn't go into a tattoo shop and look at all this. Like, I've got probably. Well, you've seen my tattoo machine.
Oh, 50 plus machines, easily.
It's about 30 grand's worth.
Yeah, easily.
Back then, his whole setup was probably worth about 100 quid. Because there wasn't any professional tattoo artists to compare to. So if everyone had the same level of shit, no one's winning. You're all just as bad. Do you know what I mean? That's why you'd get this one occasional tattooist. You'd go in the shop and it'd be all clean and pristine and everything would look all new and everyone would be like, wow. It shouldn't be impressive. That's just how it should be. Like, that's how the standard is nowadays. But back then it was completely different. It was still very much...
So what do you think about the internet now? How do you think the internet's changed the tattoo world now?
I think it's good and bad. Good in the way that you can research a lot more, but then bad in the aspect of...
You've got soapy reveals.
Yeah, you've got soap reveals that can get in the bin. And then you've got... The problem is as well, like with the internet, nobody builds up a rapport with anyone anymore. And I think that's a massive issue for the tattoo industry. Like, most of my clients, they're all long-term clients, and I'm talking like 10-year plus. Like, I still tattoo people now that I started tattooing when I was sawing people up when I was probably 12 years old, 13 years old, and still tattoo them to this day.
Yeah.
But
to fix
their clients made pre-social media boom. So you'll do a client now, and then a week later they'll see another tattooist that they like on social media, and then that client's gone. Whereas I've known, like, my dad, my cousins, my uncles in their shops, repeat clients for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Because that's what they know, and once they know you're safe with them, like a barber, you stick with it for life, don't you?
Yeah. Like, I find that some people aren't too bothered about, like, obviously it's the art is always at the core, what they want. But I find some people just want to get tattooed by someone because they have a lot of followers on Instagram. Like, you'll have some dude who's got like 30,000 followers, but he's actually not that good. Do you know what I mean? But there are people who want to get tattooed by him just because of the whole social media thing. At one point, we used to think certain people in our town were like next level, like, wow, they're so good. And even at one point, I was going to get tattooed by a lot of people in our hometown, which is Telford. But we're not going to say any names, but now it gets to a point, like you said, you're looking on the internet and you're seeing all these specialists, like black and grey specialists, colour specialists, Japanese specialists, from all over the world, or even like the next town down, and you're just like, wow, they're next level. And then you suddenly realise how bad some tattooists are. What do you think it is that makes these really awful shit tattooists survive, or how are they still even relevant, so to say?
I think, in my opinion, it boils down to what we were saying earlier. What I touched upon is the fact that pre-social media, you got a client and you had that client for life. And I think that's genuinely how these tattoo shops survive. Like, there's a couple in Oakengates. We all know who I'm talking about if you're from Telford and you're listening. But I used to look at their work when I was first starting out, and I'd think, man, this guy is incredible. And I don't think it's necessarily that they have got bad. I think it's just as things have progressed and other people have got better, especially me, especially my work's progressed to the stage where it is now, I'm willing to change and adapt, and I'll go out of my way to stay ahead of the curve. Whereas I think these people, they don't, because they've got themselves locked into that pre-social media brain. I've got my clients, I make my money, blah, 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 I don't need to change. But so they just get left behind. This is why you see so many shops go bust and old boys get their noses pushed out because they're not willing to change. They look at their work and they think, yeah, that's amazing, rather than thinking, I need to step it up.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even that it was good. It's just like I was saying earlier, 20 years ago, you had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
So if you're shit and I'm shit and we're all shit, no one cares. But if you're shit and I'm shit and then some arsehole opens a shop next door that's doing fucking mind-blowing portraits, everyone's going to be like, whoa. What are Tom and Dean doing? Like, that guy there's amazing. Their work now looks dog shit all of a sudden. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, then they have something to compare it to.
Yeah. Whereas back then, obviously everybody thought everybody was amazing just for the fact that they could put ink into the skin. Whereas now, you have to actually be able to do something special to stand out in front of the curve. So I think that's more like it boils down to.
Also about like price as well. For example, like, you know, your prices are fair, but it's also compared to the skill level that you're putting out as well. There's some people, for example, like we're not going to say any names, but some people who are just absolutely awful.
Oh, mate,
their price tag goes with that.
Yeah.
And some people will not pay the the price. Like, it's the same for like a martial arts gym. Some people won't pay the premium to go train at a good gym. They'll pay the shit price to go train at a shit gym. But then it's like, yeah, you've got shit technique.
Yeah, but then you get the same dickheads on the same hand that are charging more than me that are absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And because they've got 1,000 followers on Instagram, everyone's like, oh, no, they must be good. Look, they've got this.
Yeah.
No, mate, it's bought. Yeah. All these dickheads that do stick and poke and shit like that. It's like, mate, you're just following trends. You'll be gone in 5 years. Fuck off.
Yeah.
It's only people like me that'll stick it through because I don't know anything else.
That's another thing I want to talk about. Is we were talking about this last week, and you're the one who said this. You said you're a tattoo gladiator because this is what I mean about people who've been tattooing less than 10 years. Everyone gets,
not even 10.
Not even, yeah.
The last 5. The last 5 years.
Yeah, the last 5 years. This, like, random people, and they have a very specific style. And even I find myself doing that. Like, I'll find myself putting myself in a box where I'm like black, solid black. Everything's got to be dot work and evilly stuff. But you're a black and grey specialist. But I've seen you bang out weird space colour collages or flowers or dot work or, do you know what I mean? Like geometric. You'll do anything. And even you said 9 times, you will do 99% of anything that someone asks you.
Yeah, unless it's a bad idea or it's offensive or it's racist. Like, we all have a laugh and a joke on that, but I won't do anything that's offensive. I won't do anything that's racist. I won't do anything that's marginalised as minority groups. But I think that's because I learned in a time where, it wasn't as big as it is now. So you didn't refuse money that walked through the door. You did absolutely everything. Like, you're not in a position like, I'm not in this position to turn down that 60 quid if you want this pink flower on your arm. That 60 quid could be the difference between me paying the rent on the shop and me not paying the rent on the shop. Whereas nowadays, I think with social media, you can targetedly market your audience so well that these new people can survive off just doing one little style. Like, don't get me wrong, I will target market like black and grey horror, realism, that sort of stuff. But I'll still do everything that walks through the door as long as I think it's a good concept and it's going to look good when the product's finished. But other than that, mate, I ain't been bothered about a tattoo. I'll do anything.
Now you're saying that, about 3 weeks ago, a young lad walked through the door and he wanted some small tattoos on his hands. And for those that don't know, Pidge has got basically his whole body tattooed, his face tattooed, his head tattooed, and you taught the young lad out of having his hands tattooed.
Yeah, you don't do that. It's the last 3 areas. You do your whole body, and then you do your hands, and then you do your neck, and then you do your head and your face.
But nowadays it's kind of reversed now, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. No one cares nowadays.
Like, people are just going,
you used to earn your tattoos back in the day, and that's still my mentality. Like, but now everyone just wants them. That's the thing. Like, everybody wants tattoos now just to be a poser because it's in fashion. So they get the obvious places done first. I know people with neck and hands. That's it.
Nothing else.
That is it. Whereas me, if I'd have done that, man, my dad would have kicked the shit out of me. He was like, no, you do your whole body and then you can do your hands. You earn the right to have the ones on your hands.
Also as well, like, for example, like, there's a lot of people who work at Starbucks who have like, their hands and their neck and...
Barbers, mate.
Barbers
that want to look like tattooists.
Yeah.
Baristas. Photographers.
So anyway, let's go back to your history of tattooing. You told me about how you didn't have a penny to your name and, you're trying to learn and you kept getting told to kick rocks.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. So where was the first place? Tell us about the first few places you went to go learn that were just like, no, fuck off. Let's start there.
When I was a kid, you got to think it was hard for me because I was a kid when I learnt to tattoo. And then I learnt off my cousin. My dad accepted it. He was like, yeah, that's fine if that's what you want to do, blah, blah, blah. And then my dad died when I was really young. And then I was sort of just stuck between a rock and a hard place because my cousin, he was doing his own thing. But then obviously I lived a bit of a way away from him. And obviously I wasn't driving. I was like 14 years old at this point. So I went to pretty much every studio that's in Telford. And I've got to make a shout out to Tyson, to be fair, from Tattoo Dust, because he was probably the only one, I said to you last week, that I could ask him a question, even though we weren't friends at the time. We're great friends now. And he would give me an answer. But everyone else, mate, it is like you said, it's just fuck off. Go kick rocks, mate. We're not helping you because, especially, like, I'm quite good at art, so I'd show them my work and then I know instantly, like, not blow my own trumpet. They were like, oh, this kid will be competition for us when he gets older, when he gets a bit well, so we don't want to help him. And then you got the other side of it with pricks. Like, I used to know a guy called Dan. He's a fucking chode. He'd give me so much bad advice. Like, he'd tell me bullshit when I was like learning things like, oh, if you take the plastic wrap off your coils, it helps them create a current and all this bullshit, when all that's really doing is feeding live electricity to the frame. It is. And like there was people that would give you wrong information on purpose just to try and push you back out the door rather than bring you in. But yeah, it was really bad.
Or even make you a worse attack.
Yeah, try and fuck you over so that you don't take their business. But mate, honestly, there's been times when so many people said to me, "Well, why don't you just get a proper job?" And I was like, "I don't want a proper job. I want to do this." So I saw it through tooth and nail, mate. And now I'm happy I did. But there's been times where literally I've had bills to pay and I've not had a pot to piss in. I've not had a pound to my name. Like, there's been times where I said to you last week, I've asked my sisters, can you lend me a tenner so I can buy some needles, because I've got no lining needles, and once I've got lining needles I can do a small tattoo that'll earn me 20 quid, and then I can buy shading needles with that 20 quid, and then I can replenish the lining needles with the tattoo money that I'll get from that. And it was really living from tooth to mouth.
I remember when you were saying that your mates would ask you if you would go out drinking Friday, and you wouldn't go because that would be your bus money.
Yeah, to go to work the next day, mate. Yeah. So it was a choice.
And if no one came to work to tattoo you Monday, you wouldn't be able to get. You'd have to
walk into work on the Tuesday. It was horrible, mate. Honestly, I used to work in a shop called Wellington. I'll name drop these cunts because I fucking can't stand them. Andy Kerrigan, and I used to work for him, and he did everything in his power to just basically put me down and fucking just make my career as difficult as he could physically make it. And like, I was doing every tattoo that walked through the door for him, and he was paying me 70 quid a week. And out of that, I was paying my mum board. Like, I was still a child at this point, you've got to think. Paying my mum board, and then I was getting the bus to work, and then I was trying to feed myself with that money. And like, mate, 70 quid a week. So I'll spend that in the shop just on cans of Monster per day.
Yeah, like, that's standard, isn't it? So that's £70. So no matter what you charge for the tattoo,
mate, I was earning in thousands, and I was taking home 70 quid. Yeah. And then at the end of the tax year, he told the tax man that I was the one taking all the money, and then I got stung for it.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, well, it wasn't good, man. But like I said, it's a different time.
And he stole your machines, your first.
Yeah, when I left, man. Yeah, he took my equipment.
So tell us that story.
Yeah, basically, when I finally grew some balls and told him to get fucked. I'd love to run into the prick now. When I grew some balls and told him to get fucked, he basically made me leave all my shit at his shop so that I couldn't go away, because he knew that I was going to take all the clients from that shop. They were going to follow me. No one had any loyalty to him. Everyone thought he was a dick, jumped up prick. And his tattooing was shocking. That's why he was making me do all his work. It was one of them, he wasn't going to have a dog and bark himself. Like, he had me there, a young lad, doing all the work for him, and he was just pocketing all the dough, like, and paying me a pittance. But yeah, so when I left, he kept all my equipment so that I couldn't take clients with me, but it didn't really work, so I just lent money and bought more equipment. Like I said, nothing was going to stop me.
So where did you go from? Right, so how old are you at this point?
Probably 16.
16. So you've gone from the shop in Telford. Where was the next place you went to after that?
I tattooed from home from a bit, and then his business partner, ironically, saw Steve, that I was up and coming and that I was doing well, and that all my clients were repeat clients, so he knew that it was going somewhere. So he backhandedly paid for me to open a shop in Oakengates, which is now ironically something different, but that was my studio. It was me that made that shop into a studio from a greengrocer years and years ago. And then I stayed there for about a year, and then I moved back to Manchester when I was 17, and that's when it really went off for me, because it was fucking hell, this is just me now. I'm alone in a big city. If I don't pull my finger at my ass, there's no safety net whatsoever. Like, I will fucking starve to death. Like, this is where it comes down to. If I don't do this shit and knuckle down, I will go hungry tonight. That is it. I remember the first year I moved there, man. This is not a sob story. It fucking tickles me now, and it's nice to look back. I had chili con carne out of a can, bro, from my Christmas dinner, alone in a flat with no central heating. That's how bad it was. But I don't even look back on that negatively. I think, fucking hell, man, like, now. Like, yesterday I just went out. It's
bittersweet,
yesterday I just went out and bought another Harley because I wanted it. But like, back then I ate chili con carne out of a can for Sunday dinner, you know what I mean? It's weird.
So at this time, so you're in Manchester. Do you remember the name of the studio you were working in at the time?
Denton Inc. I think it's still there, actually,
so,
to be fair.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but I remember you saying that when you were there, because you were still learning at this point, you were kind of in the deep end with a lot of more professional artists. And I mean, I ask Pidge a lot of questions, and he'll just reel off, there's the answer, there's the answer, there's the answer. And you're never afraid to tell me the answer again. And no matter how many times I ask you, you'll give me the answer, give me the answer.
Yeah, because no one did it for me.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember you saying you were almost scared to ask these more experienced guys Because you didn't want to look like you didn't know what
Oh
you were
yeah,
doing.
I was fronting it, man. Complete bullshitting my way through, like really winging it. Like I wasn't in a position where back then I was still like I said, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I was fucking skint. So I did everything in my power to not let these guys realise that I was fucking winging this. I could do the tattoo process, but I had no clue about how it worked, what was going on, how the machines worked, all this sort of shit. Like I learned that all through trial and error. This is what I said to you last week. I wish I was in the position where I'd learned of all that first and then been tattooing, which is how it's traditionally done now in a proper apprenticeship. Like you, I teach you all the ins and outs, and then you go about what you want to do. But I didn't have a clue, man. I was just trying my utmost best for them to not figure me out.
And all those, like, for example, like you were saying, you're trying to squash all those trial and errors. Like, for example, today I was just filling black today. And I kept going off. Like, you're just like small circles. But then I kept going side to side, up and down. And then every time you're going small circles. And you kept hammering that. Every time you saw me going off that, you're like, no, repetitively, small circles. But
because it works. I've done what you were doing, where I'd find methods that made my life easier in my head when I was first tattooing. Because, like I said, I had virtually no guidance. But then you teach yourself real bad habits.
Yeah.
In tattooing, especially, you can find a way to do something that's wrong, but it's easier. So it's better to just nail it into your brain now, the right way, even if it's more difficult to begin with, and then not have to do what I did and make 40 mistakes before you finally...
Because like you were saying about like holding certain things a certain way, you're just going to butcher the skin and hamburger the skin and just fuck it up. You know, tell the people, what does hamburgering mean? Hamburgering's
where you overwork the skin to a point where you can see it looks like raw mincemeat. People tend to do it, especially apprentices, when they're first learning, because they'll overwork the skin. Like, a human body can only take so much trauma before it will not heal itself anymore, and then it gets infected. But that is what I was trying to explain to you, which is why I'm so on you with the small circles thing, because that is the most effective way to pack solid colour. Any tattoo artist worth of salt will tell you that. Pretty much every other method is better for shading. Small circles is how you're going to pack something in. So hamburgering is pretty much when they don't do that, and they'll use methods like cross hatching, which can be good. I don't like it personally. Or they'll use the feathery strokes to try and pack things in, and that doesn't work because that's specifically designed to be soft. It's all technique, right?
So going back to working in Manchester, who was, because I remember you saying there was an old boy there who really helped you a lot. Who was that?
Oh, Will. Yeah, an old boy called Will. He wasn't even a tattooist. He used to be a tattooist years and years ago, but he was probably the first person that I met. And I wasn't even asking him about tattooing, that's the thing. I always kept my head down because, like I said to you, I was fronting that I knew what I was doing when it was complete bollocks. I just got really friendly with him, mainly because I'm big into bikes. My family are all into bikes. It's just what we do. And I built a rapport up with him about that. And then as time went on, we become better and better friends. And then obviously I found out like he used to be a tattooist, and then I can't remember, to be perfectly honest, how he got into it, but it was bloody out pre like 60s when this guy got into tattooing. It was really underground, but he knew his shit. So if I'd ask him a question, he'd be like, oh yeah, this is how I do it, but this is the old way. And I'll still find myself today, like I'll do things that are considered like antique techniques, but they work. So like, why change something if it's not broken? Do you know what I mean? There's all this bollocks nowadays, and I think it's all shit. Like, as you can see in here, we're all up to date with all our health and safety stuff. Like, everything's top qual. I buy all the most expensive stuff, blah blah blah. But back in the day, man, you'd get a tattoo and they'd wash it with a soapy bucket and a sponge, and then they'd empty the bucket and use the bucket on the next person. No one ever got infections. Nothing like that, like pre-bloodborne diseases and like cross-contamination, like AIDS, pre-AIDS in the tattoo industry. There was never any of it. So I just think now, like, are we over egging the pudding with all these chemicals and stuff that we use for cleanliness? At the end of the day, a tattoo is just a scratch with some ink in it if you do it properly. All this extra is just not necessary. That's my opinion, it's not necessary. People survived having tattoos for thousands of years with none of this crap.
Cavemen and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. But you still are. I mean, you're very, very on the ball with health and safety.
Oh, anyway. I do it.
You're mad about you. I've never seen you cross-contaminate anything. You're very on the point with it.
Doing it, And whether you agree it's necessary or not is two completely different things.
Yeah.
Like, a prime example of this is, I've got God knows how many taxidermy animals in my studio, right? And when I got the licensing for this place, just for the listeners, I'm not talking about the actual tattoo process. I'm not saying in any way, shape or form that health and safety during the tattoo process is a bad thing. To be brutally honest, I think they should knuckle down on that and start worrying less about studios, decor, etc. Because I've got taxidermy all over my shop, and when I first opened this studio, this is the 4th one that I've opened, the licensing committee weren't going to give me the paperwork on the basis that I refused to take the taxidermy off the walls. And my argument was, have you ever had a tattoo? No. Trust me, it hurts. You're not going to go up after your tattoo, find a fox and go, oh look, a fox, and wipe it down there. It's never going to happen in a million years.
It's like the whole, you have to have a sink.
Yeah.
Vicinity, yeah.
I had that argument as well, because we haven't got sinks here. We've got sinks all throughout the shop, but we use like hospital Sanitex systems because it's no contact and it's cleaner. Even if it's good for a surgeon, mate, it's good for me. And I will argue that with anyone. Simple as that.
This Will, going back, what was the best advice he gave you that slowly started changing your game? Like, what changed your game? Was it because obviously you're a black and grey
Don't compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
Don't worry about other people. Doesn't matter. You do best you. And that's probably in my head, the thing that helped me the most. Because I was always really I am my own worst enemy in my martial arts, in motocross, in life, tattooing, drawing. I hate myself more than anyone else ever will. And I'm never happy with anything that I do. And I'd always compare myself to these people that have been tattooing for like 40 years and they were amazing, and I'd be like, fucking hell, I wish I could do that. I look back now, because I used to think that about people. Now that I look at their work and think, you're shit. How did I ever look up to that level of work? That's not good. Anyway, that shouldn't be...
But maybe that's their mentality. Maybe they don't look up to anyone else.
Well, I don't know, but I always want to get better. I'll never be dormant. I always want to be better than better.
You just want to be better you.
Better than me, yeah. Like, I look at the work that I did last year and I think, I could do that so much better now. And that's a year. But if the way I look at it, if you're not making that progress, then you'd fucking stale. You might as well just quit.
Yeah.
You're never going to go anywhere. You're always just going to be that version of you. And I think a lot of tattooers fall into that trap. They get to the point where they're happy-ish with their work, and then they'll just churn out that same shit, whereas I always want to get better and better and better at everything.
So you know, you've gone from Manchester, you've met Will, you know, you slowly got a bit better. From Manchester, where did you go then? I
went back to Telford. After I lived there for a couple of years, I came back to Telford, I think when I was 19. And then I was at the point in my career then where I was able to do good tattoos. Like, I could do one, look at it and think, yeah, that's all right, I'm happy with that.
I remember because me and Pidge would always bump into each other, because obviously, you know, we've got a lot of mutual friends and stuff like that, and obviously we're old school friends, so anytime we'd see each other we'd always stop and chat, and if we bumped into the pub, we just literally sit down. That was us for the rest of the night. Talk, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was every time when ran to see him in the Duke York in Trent. Oh, Pidge, how you doing? Sit down. And I remember you offered me an apprenticeship then, and I was like, and at the time I wasn't in the mental headspace, but when I brought that up to you again, you were like, fucking hell, that's the blind leading the blind. But even back then, I remember at one point you weren't very good at all, but that's because you couldn't apply your art to your tattoos.
Yeah.
And then, like you just said, you had a point in your life where you turned the corner and you were like, boom, got it. This is what I'm good at. This is the direction I want to go with my art.
Yeah,
so for you, was that, so roughly about when you were 19, was that when you were like, right, I know what I'm doing now, 100%?
Yeah, I'd say about 19, this is me set for life then. And I was already fully tattooed up at that point. I've spent fucking God knows many hours on the other side of the chair. And that's a big thing for me as well. I used to get tattooed by fucking anyone that I could get tattooed by, man, just to get some hours in the chair, and I would watch them like a fucking hawk, everything they did. And I'd always get tattooed in obvious areas. Front of the shin, kneecap, my feet, my thighs, my legs, my chest, my belly. Mate, I remember when I had my stomach done and I literally crunched my own neck. I was crippled for like 3 weeks because I was watching the guy, everything he did, mate, just to try and pick some stuff up. But when I come back and I said to you, do you want me to teach you? I would have been fully in the position to teach you to tattoo. But it's ironic because I wouldn't have been in the position to teach you to tattoo well. Yeah. Fundamentally, I could have told you everything you needed to know at that point in my life. But putting it into practice would have been a completely different story. Like you just said, it was only probably when I was like 20, 22 that I'd look at the tattoos that I would do and I'd think, yeah, fucking hell, that's good, that is. I'm now more comfortable with the tattooing because that's my medium than I am a pencil.
Yeah.
And for me, that was always a massive, massive stress because I could draw things that I couldn't tattoo and it would really get me. Like, that's probably the thing that used to get me down the most and made me... There's been a few times where I've thought about quitting because I've thought, I'm not getting the hang of this. I can't
transition the
medium.
medium.
I can't do with a tattoo machine what I can do with a pencil, and it's really getting me down. And I never understood why. And I think it's just time served. Like, I've been drawing since I was 6 years old. So if you look at that, like, my mum's got a picture of a fine line parrot that I drew when I was like 7, still in a frame on a wall. And I look at it now as an adult and I think, fucking hell, that's good. I probably couldn't draw that now. But
you could
that's
tattoo
because
that now.
Yeah, I could tattoo that with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
But again, that's because now that's not my medium anymore. It's not my go-to. Like, I should do that more. But I feel like if I started drawing more, that's time taken away from tattooing, and this is my life. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I'd say it was about 2022.
So that's when you were like, snap on the ball, you can drop you in any shop.
Yeah.
You're comfortable. And is this where you didn't open, when you come back, so you come back to Telford a second time, and this is where you didn't open your own shop, you were working for someone else, was it?
Yeah, well, I came back to Telford the second time because I was with my girlfriend time and she lived here. And I was working here, there and everywhere, man. Like, I was like, it was easy for me to get jobs at that point in time because I was only a young whippersnapper, and jobs were everywhere because everybody was crying out for a tattooist. It was half decent. The tattoo industry had just started to take on its boom, and there were jobs was here, there and everywhere if you were decent, because they was trying to feed out the old tattooists that were just doing, you know, the old shit style tattoos. So I didn't struggle finding work, but it was always quite far away. So like, that relationship eventually broke down due to the fact that I was travelling like here, there and everywhere, Manchester, Liverpool, Stoke, Brum. I was all over the place, man, tattooing, but yeah, that didn't really help, bless her. She stuck by me, but it just wasn't working.
So from Telford the second time, where did you go from there? Because I remember they offered you a job, you went in, and they just asked you to do some trial tattoo. And I remember you saying you pulled your first few lines, shaded a bit, and they were like, Jesus Christ, you're decent.
Yeah, they offered me the job on the spot, man. That was at another shop in Wellington. I can't remember the name of it. And I literally went in there, did half a tattoo, and they employed me on the spot. But that was the first proper job that I had. I'd say proper job, where I was on a real percentage and I was earning some decent money, because everyone I tattooed in that shop, man, they'd go and show their mates and they'd be, oh fucking hell, that's well good, who did that, blah blah blah, and then they come to me, but I was on a percentage base then. Like, it was a shit one. I was on 70-30 to the shop using all my equipment. So I'd get 30, they'd get 70 for every 100 quid made. But I was buzzing with that, man, just for the fact that I was earning and burning, doing what I loved.
Compared to what you were like, were you earning 70 a week?
Oh mate, fucking hell, honestly, if I had to go back to that, I could not do it again. But I just wanted it that bad. And this is what infuriates me now with people, that they just want to be tattooists because it's cool, and it's like they wouldn't last a week in the situation that I've been in. Like, fucking hell, mate, I've been there before where I haven't even had money for food. Like, I've been actually hungry with nothing, and then I've thought to myself, oh, so I've got a little tattoo in tomorrow, so that's like 30 quid. I'll get a chippy on my way home. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll get a chippy rather than have the bus, and then I'll just walk back. It's crazy, but times are so different now. But
so from there, from Telford the second time, after that, where did you go from then?
I think after I left there the second time, I went to Liverpool then. Yeah, I worked in Liverpool. And then I got my first ever proper apprentice, Brad Wallace. And a shout out to him, man. He's an amazing tattoo artist. He works in Liverpool now. Multi-award winning guy, top quality bloke. He's rocking it. Sponsored by fucking everyone. And he's just a sound guy, so give him a look over as well.
How do they find Brad?
Go on his Facebook, Brad Wallace. He's got his own studio in Liverpool. Like I said, top quality guy. Brilliant black and grey portrait specialist. Same as me. If he was doing this podcast, he'd give you the same answers. Comes from fuck all. There's been times, man, where me and Brad, we've been sat in the pub together and we've both had a fiver and we've just been like, fucking hell, we'll have 1 pint and then we'll have a game of pool and we'll go home because we ain't got no more money. But yeah, it was good. Good times, man. Even though I was shit, skinned and poor and we didn't have nothing.
You knew that you would...
Yeah, man, we were working towards
place.
something. Brad, I remember, was at a convention and... And Brad come up to me and he was like, oh, this is the geezer that taught me how to tattoo. I wouldn't be where I am without him. And that made me feel good because I was like, fucking hell, it's nice that I could help him in the way that no one wanted to help me. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm so giving. When people want it, I will help anyone. And just because it was so hard for me, like, not after sympathy, but it was like in that era there was no one. You know yourself, you go into shops and they'd be like, fuck off, why are you in my shop?
I tried going down the same path you did, probably when I was like 16, 17, 18, and all I had, same town, Telford, just kick rocks, piss off, fuck off. And I just
they use you as a T-bit for a month and then fuck you off.
Yeah, they use you as a T-bit for a bit, and you ask questions and they're like, oh, you're asking too many questions, and they're just, it's no good, do you know what I mean? But fair play to you for sticking at that road, do you know what I mean? So how long was you in Liverpool for?
2 years.
2 years. And then what happened after Liverpool?
Came back to Telford again.
Yeah.
It's one of them, innit? Telford's like a fucking magnet.
Telford,
cesspool magnet, mate. Yeah. It draws you back.
Telford is, Derry in it.
Yeah.
You can't leave Derry. Do you know what I mean? It's, your roots are just in it somehow. Like, it keeps pulling you back no matter what.
It is bad.
Do you know what I mean? Because even though you live in Kidderminster now, you still find yourself in Telford every
I'm
now and
always
again.
there, mate. Like, I'm thinking about opening another shop.
To be fair, though, it's a nice drive there, though, isn't it?
It's a nice drive on my bike, yeah, and I might open another studio there. I've been umming and ahhing with it for a long time. Like, it's even worse now because I've split up with my ex. So I've got nothing keeping me here anymore. So temptation to come back home.
Yeah, but you've got a successful shop here.
Yeah, I've got a successful shop here. I'd probably keep both. I'd open another one there because I've got loads of clients from Telford. Tattoo them over there, build up a new client base, keep this studio, work my clients here, saves them driving over. And like you said, it's a nice drive between the two.
Yeah.
Especially on my bike if the weather's nice, so it wouldn't faze me at all to do that run.
Just not over winter.
Just not over winter, mate. Yeah, we use the car then.
Yeah.
For the listeners, I do ride a bike all year round. I'm not one of these pussies.
Yeah, even in the winter.
But yeah, in the rain's not so.
So you've gone back to Telford another time. Was you working for someone else again then, or
who was I working for when I come back to Telford then? So I was in Liverpool when I come back to Telford. Mate, I've been through that many shops and that many locations. It's hard to remember.
You really have moved around loads.
I didn't have a choice. You go where the work is. That was it. I moved back to Telford and I was living back with my mum, and then I ended up getting with my ex-missus Charlene. And then that just turned my life upside down, man. Like, I went back to scratching, everything went down the piss, man. My whole life was just a fucking disaster. And it was just next level bad. Like, nothing good came from that relationship. It was so toxic. My work went downhill, and then I was literally doing just tattooing to survive, and that was that. And then I went off the rails for about a year. That probably wasn't a good point for my career because I just got to the point where I was good. And then I did that, and then that was shot, so that weren't good. But then obviously I got back into it, and then I moved to Kidderminster, where I am now.
And then this is where you opened Stagshead Tattoo.
Well, ironically, I worked for a friend of mine, Tina, who owned a beauty parlour for a small while, and then I was renting a room. I shit you not, it was probably, for the listeners that are listening, it was in no measurements. This room that I was renting and paying like £80 a week was probably 8x6. You could stand there and touch the walls either hand.
Yeah.
And then you could probably lie lengthways and have about a foot spare. It was tiny. And I was tattooing out of there. And if you're half decent, people will come to you, especially if you've got a loyal following. So, to be fair, I didn't make a bad living out of there. That tiny little room, and I'll never forget that. So that was technically my first shop. Because it was all in my name. Yeah, and then I saved that, and there was a tattoo studio across the road, and the woman never opened. She had a real bad mentality toward tattoo and blah blah blah. But at this point I was hungry again, I wanted it, so I was really chasing it. So she went bust inevitably. She just opened like one day a month. So as soon as she went under, bang, I was in there, mate. So I had her shop, which was like, fucking hell, this place is massive. It had like 4 rooms, massive reception.
Is this the one
huge tattoo area
now?
This same shop, but not in this building. That was in Stourport.
Okay.
But I would have stayed there, to be fair, but the landlord was an arsehole, and it's a listed building, which I was been tattooing a long time at this point, but I wasn't so up to date with obviously buildings and rentals and all that crap. So it's my first commercial property that I'd rented. But I wasn't aware that it was a listed building and all the roof was caving in. Well, not straight away. It was nice first, but then obviously when we had some bad winters, blah, blah, blah. and the roof was caving in, the floor was all bowed, the windows got broke by people trying to rob me, the front door got kicked in twice. It was just, it got one thing on top of another and he just would not repair it, so then I told him to stick it. Funny story. The estate agent that rented me that shop was like, you want to withhold your rent because he's renting you a building that's not fit for purpose, so if he's not going to do his side of the bargain, then you haven't got to do yours. I was like, all right, fair enough. So this is the true story. Not many people know this, but this is what happened with that shop. So I withheld the rent and I ended up owing him like 1,500 quid. So he's rung me up the one day and he's like, all right. I'm like, you're right. He's like, this is getting a bit beyond a joke now, blah, blah, blah. If you pay me 300 quid, I'll get the contractors out and they'll come and have a look at the building and then they'll assess the work and we'll get it done. I was like, all right. So I paid him the 300 quid as a goodwill gesture. I had the money. It's not like I didn't have it. I had it in my bank. Yeah. It was just a case of principle. I'm not paying you if you're not going to do your half of the bargain.
You just wanted what you were owed.
So I remember paying him the 300 quid and then the arsehole went down the shop the next day at like 4 in the morning and had a locksmith change all the locks on me. So I've gone to work the next day like, what the fuck, I can't get into my own shop, why was my key not working? And then I'm half asleep, I've noticed the door handles and everything have all changed. So the arsehole, I've rung him up, he's like, you're not having the keys till you pay me the other 1,200 that you owe me and I want 6 months in advance because you've stopped paying your rent. But what made me laugh, because at this point, what the arsehole didn't realise is that the prick, I'd been asking him for the last 12 months to fix the back door that had been booted in, where someone had tried to rob me. So I just let myself in through the back door, which wasn't even locked, and it had not been locked for about 2 years. Took all my stuff out of there, emptied the shop, mate. It was like something off TV. We was in and out in like 3 hours, everything. We took everything, ripped the floor up and everything because I'd paid for it, real petty shit. And then I just left him a little note on a piece of A4.
Life's too short not to be paid.
Oh, mate. I left him a little note on a piece of A4 paper saying, thanks for my stuff, see you in the future. P.S. Your shop's fucked. And left it in the middle of the floor, well, where the floor was. And then that shop... It's sat. I think it's still sat empty now. It's sat empty for about 4 years. Because he didn't want to pay for the work. But.
And then you moved to this area.
And then I got this shop.
Which is where's the new Stag's Head?
In Kidderminster, 67 Blackwell Street, DY10 2EL.
And as you're coming down the street, you'll see like a caged off. Like there's no way you're getting in here. Like there's security on the back and the front. You got cameras, everything. You've got the lock. Then you got alarms on the inside of the building and everything. And
I learned my lesson with that last one, mate.
You've really, it's like Fort Knox in here. Like there's no way that someone's getting in here without the police getting alarmed. But anyway, that's you walk past the front of the shop and you can see 2 taxidermy foxes. Basically, that's Stag's Head. Now the only thing with your shop is it's not
ironic that, isn't it? Stag's Head. I've got foxes in the window.
But if you come in, there's plenty of Stag's Heads everywhere else.
Yeah, fair.
But it's also, your studio's not a walk-in studio. No one off the street can walk in. It's better to contact you via Instagram or Facebook, which if you look in the description of this video, you'll find anyway. But if you just go on Facebook and type in Stag's Head Tattoo Studio, you'll find it straight away, or stags.tattoo. Stagshead.tattoo on Instagram. You'll find Pidge on there.
Us now.
Us, yeah. You'll find us on there. So... I forgot where I'm going with this. I can edit all this out. So now you've got this shop. But I remember coming down here because Pidge did a small tattoo on my ankle, a Lord of the Rings tattoo. But I remember coming down here, it was winter and it was fucking freezing. And he had a few, because you're a hoarder anyway, which we all know. He had like a few random things like the Conan the Barbarian sword and all this other random stuff on the walls. And you only had the one fox in the window at the time.
3/4 of the stuff weren't
and
here.
I didn't even know you had an upstairs.
No.
You barely had anything in it, and it was stone cold, fucking freezing.
It's because I took all the money that I had, because I had to, when I first took this shop on, I had to pay the landlord because he's an old boy. He's dead now, bless him. His son sorts it, but he's an old chap, and he didn't like the fact that I wanted to turn it into a tattoo studio, so I had to pretty much buy my way in. So I was like, all right then, I'll pay you, bam, so many thousand in advance, and then all of a sudden his attitude changed. Okay. And then I got the keys off him, but it literally brassicked me out. So as I was doing the shop, I was working to decorate the shop. And obviously now it's a completely different story.
So the shop just paid for itself.
I couldn't get any more crap in here now if I tried. There's no room. But So the shop had to pay for itself.
And nothing can be moved either.
Nothing can be moved, mate. Autistic as fuck. Everything has to stay where it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What's his name? Because you've even put insulation paint on the walls and everything.
Oh, mate,
new
yeah,
carpets, everything, just to get it up to scratch.
A friend of ours, Grant, he's a cunt. He'll fall asleep anywhere. And I remember when we first opened up, he was sitting in here, and even he was like, "I'm too cold in here to even sleep." It was horrendous. Like, we had their storage heaters on 24/7, and it
which
did
just rinses
nothing, which absolutely killed the electric bill. I think I remember our first electric bill for the first winter for like 3 months was like $1,000.
Yeah, because I remember being stone cold freezing, and I was skinny as fuck then. Like, I'm skinny now, but I was skinny then. And I was like, fucking hell, Pitch, turn the heating on. You were like, no. And you were wearing like 5 hoodies, and you were tattooing a panda on some dude's hand. And I was just like, bro, how are you not cold? And you're like, wear more layers then. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, bro. Like, I did not expect it to be this cold in here. But to be fair, now it's not really that cold in here. But I mean, I'll see.
It's all right now, because I think, as silly as it sounds, now I've had all the floor insulated and the walls all done and all the stuff that's in here, it holds heat. Whereas before, this shop is so big, it was an empty shell of cold. Whereas obviously now as well, with it being in use every day, I know it sounds silly, but the building holds its temperature so much better.
Yeah.
Because there's always bodies in here. Whereas before, you got to think, before we had it, it sat empty for years with like bare brick walls and shit. Pardon me. So it was really bad. But obviously now, I come in, I don't even have the heating on anymore. The shop's just always like an ambient temperature, which is nice. Like in the winter, I'll put the heating on. Obviously, I'm not a Scrooge. But back then, like I said, me and Grant, when it was me and him here, we had the heating on 24/7. It did nothing. Honestly, it did not even touch the temperature. That's why we used to wear like 7 layers. Because you had no choice. And like, I signed this shop in the fucking depth of one of the worst winters we'd had for years. So it was a real kick in the bollocks. Yeah. So that first year.
Do you think that affected your clientele for the first?
Do you know what? No, I've got to put my hands in the air and say thank you to all my clients, because they're fucking warriors, all of them. Like, every single one of them come down and got tagged when I opened this
even
place.
In minus 10.
Even in minus fucking 10 degrees. It was probably colder in here. It was colder in here. We used to make a joke that we'd go out for a fag to get warm. Yeah. It was fucking ridiculously cold.
Yeah. And then, so, you know, you've done it all up to where you want to be now. So that's pretty much your tattooing history up to date now, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty much me.
So, but also, we'll just say, if you want to get any certain tattoos, like for example, you want to get some horror tattoos like Leatherface, Jason, Michael Myers, anything horror related,
get on me, I'll give you
get on it on Pitch, and he will definitely give you a discount. Like anything Alien, Predator, anything along those lines, you're definitely going to get a discount. Or if you bring him the white monster, the sugar free, but if you bring him like 100 cans, 100 empty cans of Monster, then that's how you're going to get a discount.
I had more, but I had to get rid of them. Alice threw them all in the bin.
Yeah. Also, there's 2 tattooers working here. You've got Pidge, who works here all week, and then you've got Alice, who also works here, but she's got a different style to Pidge. Now, let's go on to you first getting into martial arts, because, I mean, I've done grappling, Muay Thai, wrestling for a long time. But you were doing that even before me, because obviously you were doing karate in school. So let's now talk about your martial arts history, because this is a conflict podcast. We talk about fighting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your fighting now. So, you know, you started off with karate, which is like your introduction. And how was that?
I got into GKR karate when I was about 10.
Yeah.
Because I used to get into fights all the fucking time.
Yeah,
like Grant would start them, and then I'd have the fight.
Yeah. Grant's an old school friend as well, who you're still friends with now.
He'd start it, and then he'd be like, go on. So I'd deal with it. And then it's a different story now. He's a fucking unit, but I'd ask him for help now. Yeah, so my dad sent me to karate lessons when I was a kid to try and curb my temper a little bit, but just made me better at fighting. I've got a black belt in GKR karate. I did it for years, but it means fuck all. So like we were saying the other day, like, that belt means fuck all to me. It means nothing. I didn't earn it. It was one of these fucking pyramid scheme shit. Bollocks, where they pay. It's basically pay to play. So I just bought that black belt just by turning up and giving them money. I didn't earn it, and I think that's a big thing for me with martial arts. That's too common. And
then you went into boxing for a while.
Yeah, I boxed for a long time.
And how many boxing matches did you have?
3.
3 boxing matches and
3 wins.
3 wins, so undefeated in boxing. So let's talk about you. How did you go from karate to boxing? What brought you into boxing?
The karate that I did is very tip and tap. It's an Australian style. But it's full non-contact whatsoever. It's all ceremonial based. So, katas, patterns, all that sort of stuff. So I was like, ugh. If someone mugged me in the street, I would not use this for shit. I would get my head kicked in, and then I would think I've spent, well, my mum and dad, bless them, spent thousands and thousands of me on this shit that's completely useless in the real world. It's nice when you're doing it for show, but other than that, it's got no means. I wanted to do something that I could actually use in the real world to defend myself if someone tried to set about me. So that's when I got into the boxing. Plus, I was born in the 90s, man. We've all saw Rocky. We've all fought it. I want to be that guy.
And we've watched Kung Fu Hustle and Bruce Lee films, Enter the Dragon and shit like that. So boxing, so then you went into boxing. How did you go from training boxing to right, I want to have my first fight?
I've always been, if I do something, I want to do it for a reason. Like I can't get myself up in the morning and go to the gym unless there's a reason for it.
A goal.
I have to have something to look to, and I think that's probably why I've done so well in my career, because I've always wanted to be better. I couldn't be one of these blokes that just wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm going to go to the gym and do a 2-hour set. Why? I want to. That's not me. I have to have something to aim for, and that's where originally why I did my first fight, because I did that charity one, because I trained so hard through that camp. I lost like 4 stone in like 8 weeks.
And you've always struggled with your weight as well.
It's not even a struggle, mate. I'm just fucking lazy. And unless I've got a reason to not be lazy, I'm terrible for it. So like with that first charity fight, I was like, right now I'm tipping the scales at 18 stone. I was like, right, fat shit. I felt terrible in myself. My job don't help. I sat on my arse. I do nothing all day. It's all mental. So by the time I go home from tattooing all day, I'm that mentally drained. I don't want to physically do something. So I thought, right, I'm gonna stick to this. So I arranged that fight. Nothing special, but the guy I was fighting was this big fucking Polark. He was a unit, and I was like, man, I'm gonna get my ass kicked unless I do something out of the bag here. So I literally went to the gym every day. I swam every day. I was out running every day. I did weights every day. Like there was no rest days, no cheat days, nothing. And in 8 weeks, man, my body just changed like that. It was ridiculous. Like, my mom was like, are you all right? Are you ill? Blah, blah, blah. Because I've always suffered, like, if I get stressed, weight falls off me. And I was like, no, I'm just literally smashing the gym. And I think in total it was like 4-3. So it's 4 stone 3 or something I lost in 8 weeks. And everyone was like, that's unhealthy. And I was like, it's not, because I'm eating like 6 meals a day, chicken, vegetables, fish, all healthy shit.
But you're just burning
I'm
fat
just
from all the cardio.
Training so much that my body is just rinsing through all the shit that it doesn't need. Because I naturally weigh in the scale quite slim. Yeah. If I don't eat shit, I slim down real quick. It's just, I've just got a lazy personality.
So how did you win your first fight?
Points.
The
guy was double my size, taller, longer reach. It was just a case of I could take a punch in the face better than he did.
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
And what about your second fight?
Wouldn't that on TKO?
The
geezer quit second.
Okay. What about your third
Lucky
fight?
body shot, points.
And what about you? Did you have? No, you
3,
didn't have
3-3.
3-3. Okay.
2 points.
So
and
then
TKO.
that's when you stopped for ages. You stopped boxing, and then that's roughly about when I first.
Doctor told me to stop because of my hand.
That's when, because you broke your hand.
Yeah,
or yeah. So how did you break your hand?
Fighting. In Oaken Gates with
you can't
Grant.
see it, but Pidge's tattooing hand is absolutely mangled.
Yeah, it's bad.
But anyway, so you've gone from that, and so I seen you in that one winter, and I was.
When I busted it, it's important to know that I had it in a cast for 12 months. It was that bad. Like I've only got 2 bones left. My small finger and the one in are just completely smashed to shit. They're just artificial. The bone is in my hand, and it's just a mess. And it was casted, it was that bad for 12 months. And then I suffered financially so badly through that 12 months. I just thought...
Did you tattoo at all?
No, not at all. It's my tattooing hand, isn't it? And it was casted up, like full to the elbow, and then these 3 fingers. So I couldn't do anything, mate. I could barely wipe my own arse.
What fight was that?
That was just a fight that I had in the street.
Yeah.
In Oaken Gates, pissed up one night, that was. But
hands are not designed for punching, are they?
No, not at all. Yeah, but...
So you finally got over that, and then because I remember seeing you like when you first got Stag's Head, this one,
chunky, mate.
Yeah, like I was like fucking hell. I was looking at you, thinking, man, you've put a lot of timber on, bro. Yeah. You're pretty chunky right now.
I was a warm guy.
Yeah, and then let's say God years later, I've just come back from Australia. We had lockdown 1, lockdown 2, lockdown Tokyo Drift and all that. And then we've finally started catching up. And I can't believe how much weight you've lost. You're like 4 stone in like a really fast amount of time.
I don't feel like there's any excuse for people to be fat.
Yeah.
I call bullshit on that. Eat less, do more. It's not fucking rocket science.
But that's because you've got into training now. What's the current gym you train at now?
Russell Perks
Gym. And you started doing the kickboxing there and the Muay Thai. And then you started doing the Taekwondo. And you've just started teaching the kids classes there once a week. What day do you teach your kids class? Thursdays. And then what? So talk me through your standard training week.
Monday, I'll get up, I'll go for a jog, I'll go to work, I'll go home, I eat my dinner, and then I'll go to the gym, the actual gym, and then I'll go from the gym to my first private tutorial. So I do Thai boxing private sessions at 10 till 11, and then I'll do a PT in the normal gym 11 till 12, go home, walk the dog, and then I'll go back to work, and then I'll go back home again, and then I'll go back to the gym, and I'll do 6:30 till 7:30 class Thai, and then I do 7:30 till 8:30 in the group kickboxing session. So yeah, Mondays are a rough day for me. Tuesdays I do Taekwondo in the gym. Wednesdays I do kickboxing in the gym. Thursdays I do kickboxing, Thai boxing, gym. Saturdays
and the kids class as well.
And the kids class, yeah. And then Saturdays I don't do shit. Saturdays, Sundays I just go to the normal gym.
Yeah. So that's your standard work week. But I'm trying to convince Pidge to go more.
And I'm tattooing between that as well.
Yeah, and he's tattooing between that. That's just not, yeah. So anyway, but I'm trying to convince him slowly to go more into jiu-jitsu, a little bit more MMA. Because obviously you love striking, that's your main passion, isn't it? But also we're trying to get you more into wrestling, jiu-jitsu, which is naturally picking up anyway. Because right now you're 6'2", and about 95?
6'2", not even 95 now, weighed in at 91 the other day.
91 kilos now, yeah. So that's not bad, but you want to get slimmer than that.
Yeah, I want to get down to about 80.
Yeah, that's doable, easily.
Oh, easy, mate. Give it another 6 weeks, I'll be that.
Yeah. And so what are your goals now for martial arts now? What would you like to achieve in martial arts now?
I want to fight in Thai, 100%. I'd have a go at that. Because that's my baby, I love that, that's my favourite.
Yeah.
Elbows and knees. Grapping people up, yeah. I love that. That's where my heart's at the moment. Like I will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and do that private lessons if need be.
Yeah.
But the kickboxing, I really enjoy that. But like I said, I did boxing for years and that was tedious. So I mainly use that for exercise purposes because it's a really good workout. But yeah, the Thai boxing's my baby. Taekwondo, I love doing that. But I sort of took that on from the sensei. Matt, top quality guy. He was like, Tom, you did karate for years. Your kicks are like pristine. You might as well have a go at this as well because I feel like you jump from one to the other really easily because there's that many similarities between the two. And I picked that up like that. Like I train with like the black belts in that class now, even though I'm technically a white.
Yeah.
But
do you want to aim to get your black belt in kickboxing as well?
I don't give a shit about belts, mate. I really couldn't give 2 shits. Like we've had this discussion last week. There's people I know, I won't mention any names, that have got black belts and they don't deserve yellow belts.
Yeah.
So I really don't think. Bruce Lee hit the nail on the head. He says the only thing belts are good for is to hold your trousers up.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like it doesn't mean anything. Like I said to you, I've got a black belt in karate, but it doesn't mean I'm good. It just means I was a child that's mom and dad paid loads of money and now I've got a black belt.
I don't agree with children getting black belts. I feel like you should have like a junior black belt.
I don't agree with any of it. No one should get a black belt unless they've earned it. You should look at a black belt and think that guy would kick my head in. Not look at that fat cunt. How has he got a black belt?
Oh yeah, because there's too many karate dudes with black belts. And
mate,
they're fat as fuck. And you're like, what the fuck are you on about?
Taekwondo is probably the worst one for it. You can get a black belt in that if you're an absolute cretin because it's a lot of patterns and you can limp your way through it. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't be able to, but you can. And that sickens me a little bit because I think it takes the soul out of it a little bit, which is what I love about the Thai. You ain't getting nowhere in Thai boxing unless you pull your finger out your arse. It's far too physical.
So if someone does martial arts and they want to get a tattoo off you, do they get a discount as well then?
Nah. I might offer you a fight.
No fight, okay.
That's about it.
So they come to the shop for Fight Club as well?
Yeah, we have Fight Club upstairs.
Yeah, so if you do martial arts, come down, get a tattoo, do some Fight Club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Shop's big, like we have good Fight Club.
Yeah.
I've even got a belt. I'm still holding it so far. I'm the winner.
Yeah.
Dean tried to take it but failed.
Yeah. So So with martial arts, what is it you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve with that? What's your end goal?
You know, I literally just do that now for me, for fitness, and it makes me feel good.
Mentally better?
Yeah. I don't actually have any goals. I don't want to take anything from that anymore.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd like to have a Thai fight, but I'm 30 years old now. I think I'm getting past it a little bit.
Yeah,
My elbows and my knees and
Even
shit.
if you just have one?
Just the one, nip it in the bud. I'd like to go to my grave with zeros at the end of all my fights. That'd be nice, so I haven't been beaten in anything. Doesn't mean I'm good, it just means I was luckily better than the other amateurs at the time.
Yeah.
But would be nice. And I would like to have a go at the Thai fight as well, because I'm really massively into the ceremonial side of it, behind closed doors as well. Yeah, I just mainly do that for me. It makes me feel good. I think everyone should have a go at it. I think everybody should get punched in the face at some point in their life.
Yeah.
And then no one will be scared, because when you get smacked in the face, it makes you realise you're not made of glass. And that you haven't got to be afraid of the world. Because I was always a really fucking scared teenager. I used to get beat up all the time and stuff. And I was scared of my own shadow. But then once you get your first real pop in the mouth, you're like, hang on a minute.
It's not that bad.
That's not that bad. And then you don't be scared no more.
Yeah.
So I think everybody should have a go at some form of martial arts. It's such a confidence boost. And if you're fat and lazy like me, it gets you off your ass and gets you in the gym. And it's fun.
Yeah.
Mate, I have a better workout.
And the people you meet too.
Yeah.
You meet better calibre of people in martial arts,
I get a better workout in a training session than I've ever done in a gym.
Even conversations, even just standard conversations better. Yeah.
I think the only thing you've really got to watch for is that you don't end up in a situation where you find yourself in a gym where it's paid to play, like what I was doing.
Yeah.
That's a massive thing for me. I think that's important.
But I feel like if you're not happy in a gym, just leave. Go try at another gym. Go try another gym. If you've got a coach who's like, oh, you're not allowed to train at this gym. No, bullshit. Go train wherever you want. Just don't quit.
Well, that's like my coach. He's a top quality guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing person. Like I said to you, he's like, yeah, we'll get Dean in and we'll all do some training together.
Yeah.
Like, there's none of that elitist bullshit. But then on the other hand, I think sometimes the elitist attitude is good, like we was talking about before, that you can't get a black belt in jiu-jitsu unless you're over the age of 18 and you have a certain skill set.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Like, I think that's how it should be. Because the way martial arts is at the minute at a lot of places, it's like tattoo conventions is a prime example. It's almost like you go to the convention and you just get a trophy for being there.
Yeah.
No, earn it or fuck off. Do you know what I mean? It just, I don't like that. I think things nowadays, we live in a society where everything's given. There you go. You don't have to earn it. You have to work for it. Everybody's a winner. You hit the nail on the head when you said martial arts isn't for everyone, and I completely agree with that. It's not.
Yeah, because there is this saying of all martial arts is for everyone. It's fucking not, mate. It's not at all.
It takes a mentality and a dedication.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been the same. I will ass first throw myself into everything that I do wholeheartedly. And it really winds me up.
Art's not for everyone.
Yeah,
I mean, anyone can pick up a pencil, but there's a difference between someone who, you draw him, but then there's someone who's like, wow, he's an actual artist. Like, he's very talented,
It's like me, I consider myself a tattooist, not a tattoo artist, because to me, a tattoo artist is someone that's been an artist their whole life and then transfers. I started as a tattooist, so I don't feel like I've earned that title, do you know what I mean? So it's the same with martial arts, isn't it, really? You should earn your stripes like you have to in everything in life. It shouldn't be given just because you've turned up.
No pun intended.
Yeah. That really winds me up, that does.
Alright, so I think we've covered everything. Thanks for being on the podcast. We'll probably do some more of these. I'm going to put all the information to contact Tom, aka Pidge, in the description. If you're listening to this on Castbox, which is another medium platform, you can find Pidge on Facebook at Thomas Gabriel, or you can just go on Google and type in Stagshead Tattoo Kidderminster, and then you can find all the phone number on there, all the rest of his information, or you can go on Instagram, stagshead.tattoo, and then you can find Pidge on there. Just drop him an inbox, say you've even listened to this podcast, what you think about it, comment, and come get tattooed. But if you want some horror, Alien vs Predator, horror, Leatherface, that type of stuff, Terminator face, that's the type of stuff Pidge loves to do. But he will, like you said, tattoo gladiator. You'll tattoo anything that comes through the door, as long as it's a cool concept, good idea.
If they ask me for shit, fuck off.
Yeah, no doves,
That's
no
it.
stopwatches.
I'm out of stock with doves and pocket watches.
Yeah, nothing. What else is it? Infinity symbols, feathers turning into birds, live, laugh, love, stuff like that. Right, anyway, thanks, that'll do.